Ding. Ultimate Simp system successfully bound. Newbie mission. Within 1 week. Spend 100,000 RMB on the system's chosen goddess Su Qianxue. The finance department's campus belle. The completion level of the mission will determine the subsequent funding amount. May you simp with joy and simp with style. My name is Lin Zhou, an ordinary college student who wouldn't even make a ripple if thrown into a crowd. Right now, I'm staring at the pale blue virtual interface that only I can see, along with the sudden addition of 1 million yuan in my bank account. Labeled System Exclusive Funds. Lost in thought. A simp system. Come on, sir. What era are we living in? Still playing out scripts from the last century? My mind immediately conjures up those classic short video scenes where the male lead sends the female lead 999 roses, only for her to walk away with some flashy guy in a Ferrari. Too cliché. Really. This logic of if I give everything, the goddess will surely fall for me is essentially a form of self-indulgent emotional manipulation. The market has long proven that this playbook has already crashed and burned. What's the current trend in traffic? It's about turning the tables, about getting slapped in the face, about being anti-simp. System, you're behind the times. Warning, detected negative emotions in the host. Please adjust your attitude. Becoming a glorious simp is your only shortcut to financial freedom. A cold, mechanical voice rang out in my mind. I curled my lip. Fine. You're paying. So you're the boss. I opened Su Qianxue's profile. In the photo, she truly lived up to the title of school beauty. Clean white dress, waist-length hair, and a cool, distant gaze. Like a handful of ice-cold spring water on a summer day. Yeah, she was the type that would have countless hormone-driven college boys willingly lining up to buy her milk tea. In the comments section, it was a flood of goddess, wife, and fairy descended to earth. I closed the profile, swiped my finger across the screen, and started thinking about how to spend this first sum of money. Buy Su Qianxue a bag, gift her a top-tier skincare set, or just set up a heart-shaped candle display outside her dorm, followed by a drone light show. These thoughts ran through my mind, only to be dismissed one by one. Too cliché. Too unoriginal or recycled moves that others have already used. Doing this wouldn't make Su Qianxue see me in a new light. She probably wouldn't even remember what I look like. Just slapping me with a label. Oh, another fool. What's the essence of being a simp? It's an imbalance of value. You try to compensate for your own lack of worth with money and service. But it's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. The more you pour, the faster it leaks, and the more pathetic your posture becomes. So, what is the right way to play? It's about enhancing your own value. Make the bucket itself bigger and sturdier. Even gild it with gold. By then, will you still need to pour water yourself? No, the water will come rushing in on its own. A faint, almost imperceptible smile curled at the corner of my mouth. System, there's something you might not have figured out. You only stipulated that the money must be spent for Su Qianxue, but you never said it had to be spent directly on her. This rule has way too many loopholes. I opened my phone's map and searched for the city's top-tier fitness center force field space. It said that the membership cards here start at a minimum of 6 figures. And every personal trainer is a champion-level figure who has won international awards. Then, I dialed their number. Hello. I'd like to inquire about your most expensive personalized fitness training program. How much does it cost? The customer service lady on the phone had a voice so sweet it was almost cloying. Hello, sir. Our top-tier Apollo plan is a customized course personally designed and guided by our founder, 3-time Olympiad champion coach Mike Wong. The fee is 880,000 per year. All right, I'll take it. But I have one additional condition. Please go ahead, sir. I'm getting this card for a girl named Su Qianxue. I want you to issue a co-branded honorary membership card in her name. In other words, the card should bear both of our names. I said slowly. Oh. And also prepare a promotional message for me that says, celebrating Miss Su Qianxue, becoming the supreme VIP of force field space. And then flood my social media feed with it. There was a full 5 seconds of silence on the other end of the line. I guess that customer service lady, in all her years on the job, had never encountered such a peculiar way of thinking. Sir, you mean you're spending 880,000 to get a membership card for yourself? And then giving this honor to Miss Su Qianxue. That's right. I snapped my fingers. Is there a problem? And then, no problem at all. Sir, I'll arrange it for you right away. The customer service representative's voice instantly became incredibly enthusiastic. After hanging up the phone, I stared at the 1 million in my bank account. System, did you see that? The next big trend isn't about how to be a good simp. It's about how to use a simp's money to turn myself into a god that everyone wants to worship. The game has begun. Warning. The system has detected abnormal behavioral logic in host. The funds have not been directly applied to the target person. Su Qianxue, please correct immediately. In my mind, the system's warning sounded as sharp as an air raid siren. I was lying on the force field space body composition analyzer, worth 1 million, with my eyes closed, lazily replying, "What's the rush? Hasn't the money already been spent? The invoice is still under Su Qianxue's name, so there's no problem." Ridiculous. This kind of indirect goodwill has an extremely low perception rate for the target, and the efficiency of being a simp is negative. It's a complete waste. Oh, is that so? I opened my eyes and looked at my personal trainer, Mike Wong, whose chest muscles were bigger than my head. He was holding my fitness assessment report, his brows furrowed like walnuts. "Mr. Lin, your body is a bit lacking in foundation. Your body fat percentage is 28. Your muscle mass is severely insufficient, and you have a slight spinal curvature." He looked at me like I was some rare specimen. "But don't worry. Leave it to me. Within a year, I'll transform you completely." I smiled and said to the system in my head, "Did you hear that? I'm forging a stronger, more perfect body for Miss Su Qianxue. Once I develop 8-pack abs and a line, I'll be worthy of standing by her side, shielding her from all storms." Isn't this the highest level of simping? This is what I call high-tier simp. Understand. System. It fell silent. I reckon its central processor had been crashed by my twisted logic. Perfect. The market needs new stimulation. And so does the system. In the days that followed, I practically lived in the gym. Mike Wong, true to his reputation as a champion coach, had a training regimen that could only be described as insane. Every day, a relentless barrage of strength training, cardio kickboxing, and Pilates stretches drained every last ounce of energy from my body. I often collapse halfway through training, lying on the ground, feeling like my soul has left my body. The system in my mind, which started with intense warnings, has now turned into a feeble daily report. Daily task. Deliver a caring breakfast to Su Qianxue. Host failed to complete. Rating. Poor. Daily task. Like and comment on Su Qianxue's social media post. Host failed to complete. Rating. Extremely poor. Daily task. Find out Su Qianxue's class schedule and stage a chance encounter. Host failed to complete. Evaluation. Hopeless. I completely ignored it. Deliver breakfast. I'd rather sleep an extra 10 minutes to replenish my protein. Like and comment. Huh? The lowest form of online interaction, cheap and ineffective. Stage a chance encounter. Save it. Real attraction never comes from pestering. That day, I had just finished a set of heavy bench presses. My chest was pumped, and sweat dripped from my chin onto the floor. I casually picked up my phone to check the time. Then, I saw my moments flooded with posts from the official Force Field Space account. A meticulously edited 9-grid photo, paired with an enthusiastic caption. Warm congratulations to Miss Su Qianxue, the goddess of the finance department, on becoming the third Global Apollo Plan Supreme Honorary Member of Force Field Space. Love her. Give her the best. Su Qianxue. Below is a beautifully crafted photo of the co-branded membership card in a black and gold color scheme. My name and hers are printed side by side on it. As soon as this post went live, the entire school's social circle exploded. Holy crap. Force Field Space. You mean that top-tier gym where even the air you breathe is supposedly filtered? 880,000 members. Holy crap. Which mega-rich guy is this loaded? Su Qianxue's mysterious boyfriend. That's just too extravagant. Su Qianxue. Goddess. Say something. I can imagine that right now. Su Qianxue is being flooded with countless mentions and private messages. She must be completely bewildered too. That's right. The traditional simp strategy is to wear your neediness on your sleeve, like a wagging lapdog. But my strategy is called absent presence. I'm not there in person. But my name, my legend, my money power is everywhere. I want to make her curious about me. And curiosity is the beginning of her downfall. Ding. Detected a drastic emotional fluctuation in the target. Curiosity 50. The system is reassessing the host's behavior. Oh, starting the reassessment already. I wiped my sweat, picked up a bottle of electrolyte water, and downed it in one go. Just then, the glass door of the gym was pushed open, and a familiar yet unfamiliar figure walked in. It was Su Qianxue. She was wearing a light purple tracksuit today, her long hair tied up in a high ponytail, giving her a more spirited and energetic look than in the photos. She was clearly looking for someone, her gaze sweeping across the spacious gym. A few of my wealthy second-generation classmates, who were also regular members here, stared at her with wide eyes and immediately swarmed around her like flies drawn to blood. Qianxue, why are you here? Well, is the goddess here to work out too? Let me show you around. Su Qianxue responded to them with polite detachment, but her gaze was still searching for something. I didn't move and continued with my stretching. Finally, her eyes met mine in the mirror. She froze for a moment. The reflection of me in the mirror, shirtless, with sweat tracing the emerging lines of my muscles. Exhausted, my eyes carried a hint of aggression, making me a completely different person from Lin Zhou, the unnoticed ordinary student at school. She probably recognized me. After all, that co-branded card had my name on it. She parted the crowd and walked toward me. The air seemed to freeze at that moment. Everyone's gaze was fixed on us. Those rich second-generation heirs had eyes filled with jealousy and confusion. I could hear the system's almost ecstatic scream in him. Why mind? She's coming. She's coming. Host, hurry. Unleash your ultimate skill as a simp. Go greet her. I ignored it. I just calmly watched her in the mirror as she drew closer and closer. Then, a second before she could speak, I turned around, facing away from her, and said to Mike Wong, who was instructing me nearby, Mike, I've rested enough. Next round. Let's go with sparring. With that, I walked straight toward the boxing ring without even sparing her a glance. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Su Qianxue frozen in place. On that cold, aloof face, shock appeared for the first time, along with a faint trace of barely perceptible anger. It was probably the first time she had been treated by a man in such a completely dismissive manner, especially after that same man had just spent a fortune for her. The group of wealthy second-generation heirs behind her also looked utterly incredulous, as if they had witnessed some kind of world wonder. Host, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? The goddess is coming to you on her own. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Go explain. Go grovel. The system in his mind was already rambling incoherently. I can't be bothered with it. Explain. Explain what? Explain that I spent 880,000 not for her, but for myself. Wouldn't that be showing all my cards? Too foolish. A true hunter always knows how to maintain an air of mystery. I put on my boxing gloves and started pounding the heavy bag, one punch after another. Sweat flew, muscles tensed, and every punch carried a fierce determination to smash all my troubles to pieces. Mike was counting beside me, shouting nonstop. Harder. Use your waist. Punch out all your anger. Anger. Oh, I don't have any anger. I'm just really enjoying this feeling of having everything under my control, including that increasingly burning gaze behind me. Su Qianxue did not leave. She was standing not far away, watching me. I had no idea how long she had been standing there. It wasn't until I finished a round, exhausted like a dead dog, leaning against the ropes of the boxing ring to catch my breath, that she walked over again. This time, she came directly up to me. Lin Zhou, right? Her voice, like her presence, was clear and cold, like the sound of jade striking against jade. I looked up, wiped the sweat from my face, and gazed at her. Up close, I realized her skin was truly flawless, with barely a visible pore. Something wrong? I asked, catching my breath. My attitude clearly caught her off guard once again. There was no ecstatic joy, no flattered surprise, just a calm tone, as if I were asking a stranger. What are you looking at? Her beautiful brows furrowed slightly. Was that thing on moments you're doing? She asked. Oh, that. I nodded. Yeah. What? She pressed. Here it comes. The classic question. I looked into her probing eyes and suddenly found it a little amusing. Did she think I was going to say something? Because I like you. I'd give everything for you. Give me a break. Lines that cheesy would only tank my social value instantly. I unfastened my boxing gloves, tossed them casually on the ground, then picked up a towel and wiped the sweat off my neck. There's no way about it. I looked at her and said very seriously, if I had to put it one way, just think of it as an investment. Invest. She was even more confused. That's right. I smiled, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. I'm investing in myself. I think my body, my health, and my image are worth this price. As for why I wrote your name on the card, well, let's just say it's to bask in the glory of the school beauty and bring some good luck. My words were 3 parts truth and 7 parts nonsense. Su Qianxue was completely stunned. She had probably imagined 10,000 possibilities, but this was the last one she expected. For good luck. The reason was so absurd that even her cold, composed face showed a hint of a crack. You? She seemed to want to say something, but didn't know what to say. Ding. Detected target's chaotic thoughts. CPU usage at 95. Warning. Host's behavior has severely deviated from the Simp database. Please immediately initiate remedial measures. The system started beeping again. I ignored it. I picked up my water bottle, took a few gulps, and then said to Su Qianxue, if there's nothing else, I need to go take a shower. Mike is still waiting for me to do a fascia gun relaxation. With that, I walked past her and headed straight to the locker room. From start to finish, I didn't ask for her contact information, didn't say a word like let's grab a meal sometime, and didn't even offer any unnecessary pleasantries. I have taken the word ignore to its extreme. I know this is risky, But I also know that for someone like Su Qianxue, a goddess spoiled by her simps, the more you care about her, the less she cares about you. On the contrary, someone like me, an oddball who treats her like a mascot, is more likely to pique her desire to conquer. Sure enough, as soon as I stepped into the locker room, the system notification sound in my head changed. Ding. Target Su Qianxue has developed a strong curiosity toward the host. Curiosity 100. Ding. Target Su Qianxue is experiencing slight frustration. Desire to conquer 30. Ding. System logic conflict detected. Initiating first self-correction. Correction failed. Warning. Unknown system bug detected. Warning. Listening to the system's crackling electrical noise, I felt in high spirits. That's more like it. The market needs new stimulation, and the gameplay needs to be iterated and updated. System. Your outdated logic is due for elimination. I hummed a tune while taking a shower. I could feel my hormones roaring wildly inside my young body. This feeling was fucking amazing. After the incident at the gym, I thought Su Qianxue would let it go. After all, for a proud girl like her, being publicly ignored by an ungrateful guy like me must have been a blow to her pride. Unexpectedly, the next day, she actually took the initiative to add me on WeChat. In the friend request, she only wrote 3 words, Su Qianxue. I stared at that request for a full minute. Host. Accept it. Accept it now. This is the goddess extending an olive branch on her own. A tremendous honor. Hurry. The system went wild in my head, flooding my thoughts. I ignored it, tossed my phone aside, and continued reading my book. This is called delayed gratification. The more eager you are to respond, the cheaper you appear. I wanted to make her wait, to let her, in that waiting, constantly guess my thoughts and amplify her curiosity about me. It wasn't until evening, after I finished a set of pull-ups and my arms were too sore to lift, that I leisurely picked up my phone and tapped accept. I didn't immediately send a message or say hello, as if I was just casually dealing with a piece of spam. Sure enough, within less than a minute, her message came through. Su Qianxue, why did you only agree now? There was a hint of accusation in her tone. Good. It meant she was already starting to care about my reaction. Me, just finished training. Busy. My reply was simple, direct, and devoid of any emotion. At the same time, it subtly conveyed a message. My life is fulfilling. My time is valuable. And I'm not the kind of idle person who replies instantly. Su Qianxue. She sent a string of ellipses, clearly choked by my stone-cold straight guy style of conversation. Su Qianxue. About what happened at the gym. Thank you. Even though the reason was strange. Still, thank you. Here it comes. The classic friend zone opening. If this were the old Simp, seeing this line would probably have him already excitedly thinking about what to name the kids. Then he'd reply, no need to thank me. Doing anything for you is my duty. But I'm Lin Zhou. Me, no need. Me, that card is mainly for my own use. See, that's the art of language. I casually brushed off her gratitude. It was equivalent to telling her, don't flatter yourself. This has little to do with you. Once again, I ended the conversation. I could imagine that Su Qianxue, on the other end of the phone, must have had a look of both anger and helplessness right now. Ding. Target's frustration 50. Competitiveness 20. Hearing the system's notification sound, I smiled with satisfaction. Over the next few days, Su Qianxue sporadically reached out to me a few more times. The topics were all trivial and insignificant. Like, did you go to the gym today? Or is the coursework heavy in your department? Every reply I give follows 3 principles: brief, objective, and never initiating a new topic. I have cornered all her desire to chat. trapping it against the wall. I know she is testing me, testing whether I am truly uninterested in her, and I am determined to make her believe that. A week later, the deadline for the system's first 100,000 yuan task arrived. Ding. Newbie task settlement in progress. Host has spent a total of 880,000 yuan on the target. Su Qianxue. Within 1 week. Task overfulfilled. Completion rate 880. Rating S. Behavioral logic incomprehensible. Congratulations, host. The Ultimate Simp System version 2.0 is now officially activated. The remaining funds of 912,000 yuan have been unlocked. The new feature Simp Mall is now online. I clicked on the so-called Simp Mall, and inside, it was filled with a dazzling array of all sorts of random junk. Skill. Mind reading trial version. Effect. Allows you to read the target's most superficial thoughts at the moment. Price. 100,000. Item. Truth water. Effect. Makes the target speak their true thoughts within 10 minutes. Price. 200,000. Aura. Spending spree. Effect. When the host spends money on the target, personal charm temporarily increases by 200. Price. 300,000. I couldn't help but shake my head. These things look impressive on the surface, but at their core, the logic is still the same. All abilities must revolve around sucking up to the target person. The vision is too narrow. Host. Hurry up and exchange. With mind reading, you'll know what the goddess is thinking. Cater to her preferences. And be unstoppable. The system started tempting me again. Not interested. I closed the shopping app. These vague and intangible skills, how could they be more important than real? Tangible changes. My gaze fell on the mobile browser. On a web page I had been studying for a long time. It was a high-end custom suit shop located in the top commercial district of the city center. Their founder was an old tailor who had once made clothes for the British royal family. A basic entry-level suit started at 6 figures. A man's taste and quality begin with a well-fitted suit. Fitness is about shaping my hardware. Next, it's time to upgrade my software. I directly deducted 200,000 from the system funds. Ding. The host has spent 200,000 yuan. Purchased item. 1 set of Brioni bespoke suit. Warning. This consumption has no connection whatsoever with the target person. Su Qianxue. It constitutes a serious violation. The system will impose a penalty. The sharp alarm sounded once again. Penalty. The host will experience the feeling of social death within 24 hours. Specific manifestation. Continuous. Unstoppable hiccups in public places. Oh, there's a penalty too. Continuous hiccups. I laughed. System. Isn't this punishment of yours a bit too childish? The next day, I walked toward the teaching building, wearing my dark gray suit worth 200,000 yuan, perfectly tailored to my body's contours. This suit seemed to have a kind of magic. It made me unconsciously straighten my back, and my walking posture became much more composed. The passing girls around me turned their heads at least 3 times more often than usual. Then came the punishment. Hic. A loud hiccup escaped uncontrollably from my throat. Hic. Burp. One after another. I simply couldn't stop. The people around me were all staring at me as if I were an idiot. I could hear their whispers. Who's this guy? Dressed to the nines but hopping around like a toad. Huh. I'm dying of laughter. Is this performance art? Ding. Social death penalty in effect. Host's current social rating 50. Please correct your erroneous behavior as soon as possible. The system gleefully prompted. Social death. I looked at the pointing and staring eyes around me, but instead of feeling embarrassed, I found it quite amusing. Just then, I saw Su Qianxue walking toward me. She was wearing a white dress today, still as beautiful as ever. She had clearly noticed me and my ridiculous appearance. Her footsteps paused for a moment. I saw her best friend beside her, covering her mouth with a laugh near her ear. Host, see that? This is the consequence of breaking the rules. Your image in the goddess's heart is completely ruined. The system shouted. Is that so? Instead of avoiding her gaze, I walked straight toward her. As I walked, I kept my expression unchanged and let out a burp. Burp. At the moment I brushed past her, I stopped in my tracks, turned my head, and gave her a helpless, self-deprecating smile. Then, in a voice neither too loud nor too soft, I said something loud enough for everyone around to hear. Sorry. Burp. I rinsed my mouth with a bottle of 1982 Lafite this morning. Burp. The aftertaste is a bit strong. With that, ignoring her instantly frozen expression, I continued walking with steady steps, punctuated by a series of burps, and strode away triumphantly. My wild remark about rinsing my mouth with 1982 Lafite spread like wildfire across the entire campus within half a day. I became famous, in an extremely bizarre way. On the school forum, posts about me piled up into a towering thread. The title was, Shock, the guy who got Su Qianxue an 880,000 yuan gym membership actually rinsed his mouth with Lafite this morning. The replies below are all the same. Damn, for real. Who is this guy? Got a mine in his backyard. I was there at the scene. He was wearing a super sharp suit, burping while saying that line, with a deadpan expression like it was nothing absolutely badass. I feel like he was putting on an act. Who even acts that cocky? Whether it was an act or not, I've got my eye on him now. Lin Zhou, right? Quite interesting. Am I the only one who noticed his suit? It looks like Brianami Dad has one. Over 200,000. Public opinion was heading in a direction I hadn't expected. Yet one I was happy to see. Social death. No, that's not social death. This is called building a persona. A mysterious man who is somewhat wealthy, somewhat handsome, somewhat unconventional, and has a bit of a sense of humor to ascent that image just establish itself. Compared to those simps who only send flowers and milk tea, his level is so much higher it's not even close. Warning. Warning. Social death penalty effect evaluation failed. The host's social rating has actually increased instead of decreasing. System logic has encountered a secondary conflict. Rebooting. Listening to the crackling static of the system in my head, I walked cheerfully into that bespoke suit shop and picked up my second, and more expensive, Suita Midnight Blue Velvet Tuxedo. Money should be spent where it truly counts. And I am the sharpest blade of all. Over the next month, I fully implemented my self-investment theory. Using the system's funds, I enrolled in online courses from a top business school to study finance and management. Though I am still just a student, knowledge is something that will never betray you. I hired a professional etiquette coach to teach me social and dining manners. A person's demeanor is often reflected in these small details. I even went to learn wine tasting and horseback riding. These seemingly pretentious skills are usually the keys to entering certain circles. My life is packed to the brim fitness, classes, learning all kinds of new skills. I'm like a high-speed sponge, frantically absorbing everything that can increase my value. And the 1 million system funds in my bank account are draining away at an alarming rate. The system, it seems, has grown desperate with my incorrigible behavior. The punishments it issues are becoming more and more absurd. For example, if you ask me to walk, I will inevitably move the same arm and leg together. Another example, if you ask me to drink water, I will definitely spill it on myself. Once, it even punished me by making the first person I made eye contact with develop an uncontrollable fondness for me. As a result, that day, I accidentally made eye contact with the security guard at our school. From then on, every time he saw me, he smiled like a blooming chrysanthemum and insisted on giving me cucumbers he had grown himself. These so-called punishments didn't bother me at all. Instead, they added a bittersweet amusement to my otherwise dull path of leveling up. As for Su Qianxue, she never actively contacted me again during this month. She seemed to be deliberately avoiding me. I knew she was observing and also struggling. This unconventional suitor of mine completely disrupted her perception. Her proud self-esteem prevented her from showing too much enthusiasm toward me, the campus celebrity, like other girls would. But every one of my out-off-the-box moves, whether it was rinsing my mouth with Lafite or having photos of me in bespoke suits at the horse ranch posted on the forum, was like a stone, constantly stirring ripples in the calm lake of her heart. She was waiting for me to come to her. If I made just one move, even just sending a WeChat message, she could regain that feeling of being pursued and placed on a pedestal, then bring me back under her control. But I refuse. Not only do I not take the initiative, but I also want her to know that my world doesn't revolve solely around her. I used the remaining money to book the city's most exclusive sky-high restaurant and threw a small private party. The people I invited were not the sycophantic rich kids, but new friends I had met in various classes and clubs. There was a moderately well-known gallery curator, a senior who started her own business, a cool girl who played in a band, and a few fitness models with stunning figures. Every single one of them was more vibrant and interesting than Su Qianxue's so-called school beauty title. On the day of the party, I wore that midnight blue velvet gown and moved effortlessly among the guests. The confidence gained from fitness and studying made me radiate from within. I know that tonight, Su Qianxue will definitely come, because I had the restaurant accidentally send an invitation to the party to her dormitory as well, in my name. But on the invitation, it read, Mr. Lin Zhou and his friend's party. The character them says it all. At 9 in the evening, the heavy wooden door of the restaurant was pushed open. Su Qianxue stood at the entrance. She was still dressed in a white gown, still as beautiful as ever. But on her face, there was a trace of panic she herself hadn't even noticed, because she saw me sitting in the seat of honor, with the hot fitness model on my left and the ethereal gallery owner on my right. We were raising our glasses, chatting and laughing, and my gaze didn't linger on her for even a second. Su Qianxue's arrival didn't cause much of a stir at the party. My new friends merely nodded at her out of politeness. In their eyes, Su Qianxue might be beautiful, but beauty, here, is the least valuable thing. Everyone has their own shining field, and everyone is the protagonist in their own world. No one would treat her as the center of the world, like those boys in school did. This feeling of being dimensionally reduced made Su Qianxue's usually cold face show a hint of unease for the first time. She stood there, like a little girl who had stumbled into the adult world. Elos, host, godsend. Quick, go over and invite her. Show your gentlemanly demeanor. Tell her that everything you did was for her. The system's voice cracked with excitement. I sneered inwardly. Go over now. Wouldn't that be telling her that the moment she appeared, she had reclaimed all of my attention? Wouldn't the high-value persona I had worked so hard to build instantly collapse? I didn't move. I continued chatting with the gallery manager beside me about pop art, as if I hadn't even seen Su Qianxue. It was a wealthy classmate beside her, also a reference point I deliberately let in, named Wang Hao, who scurried over eagerly. Qianxue, you're here. Come sit over here. Wang Hao eagerly tried to pull her to his table. Su Qianxue hesitated for a moment but ultimately followed him over. I watched all of this out of the corner of my eye, my heart calm and undisturbed. That's right. I want her to first experience what it feels like to fall from grace. At school, she was the moon surrounded by stars. But here, she is just one of the brighter stars among many. The party had a great atmosphere. We talked about art, business, and the future. No one gossiped about school scandals or flaunted their family background. This is a higher level of social interaction. At Su Qianxue and Wang Hao's table, things seemed out of place. Wang Hao was still using his outdated way of bragging about how his dad had bought him a new car and how much money he had made from this project. Su Qianxue just kept her head down, sipping her juice quietly, rarely speaking. Yet her gaze would unconsciously drift toward me. She was watching me confidently chat with others. Look at that fitness model beside me, smiling as she feeds a piece of cut steak into my mouth. Look at that gallery owner, whispering something in my ear, then exchanging a knowing smile. I could feel her gaze shift from curiosity to scrutiny, and then a hint of envy and loss that even she hadn't noticed. It was probably the first time she realized that a person's world could be so vast and wonderful, and how pale and powerless her school beauty halo was in the face of the truly vast world. Ding. Detected target Su Qianxue experiencing self-worth doubt. Confidence 30. Ding. Target Su Qianxue developing a longing for the host's current social circle. Desire value 50. Warning. No such Simp strategy mode exists in the system database. Logic system crash for the third time. Requesting headquarters technical support. Support failed. Listening to the system's wails. I picked up my glass and stood up. Everyone, I said, drawing everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming tonight. I propose a toast to our ambition. Everyone stood up, smiling and raising their glasses. To ambition. At that moment, I saw Su Qianxue instinctively raise the juice glass in her hand. Her eyes were fixed on me. In her gaze, there was no longer the previous arrogance and coldness. Instead, it was replaced by a complex emotion mixed with curiosity and confusion. She didn't understand. She couldn't understand why. In just a month, someone who should have been an unremarkable suitor among many in her eyes had undergone such a dramatic transformation. I don't understand why it was clearly created just to suck up to Mayat. He lives more freely than anyone, more dazzlingly than anyone. After the party ended, I saw off all the guests. Su Qianxue was the last to leave. She walked up to me, her lips parting slightly, as if she wanted to say something. Lin Zhou. In the end, she only called my name. Yeah, I nodded, waiting for her to continue. You? She looked at me with an unprecedented seriousness in her eyes. What kind of person are you? Really? She finally asked the question. This shows that she has completely given up on defining me with her past experiences. I smiled. I am who I am, I said, an ordinary person, striving to become better. Then, what exactly are you doing all this for? She pressed on, still unwilling to give up. Is it really just for good luck? I looked at her and remained silent for a few seconds. Then, I stepped forward, leaned close to her ear, and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. Before, maybe, but now. I deliberately paused, and under her anxious gaze, slowly uttered the second half. I've realized that without you, things seem pretty lucky after all. Su Qianxue's face visibly paled. It was an expression mixed with humiliation, anger, and disbelief. My words were more devastating than any previous act of disregard, because they fundamentally denied the value of her existence. You bastard, she cursed in a low voice, her eyes instantly reddening. Then, she turned around and ran out of the restaurant without looking back, watching her almost fleeing figure. The system in my mind let out an unprecedented scream. Oh, host, what have you done? You actually made the goddess cry. You're digging your own grave. The mission is going to fail. We're doomed. I dug at my ear, finding it a bit noisy. Game over. No, the real show is just beginning. Everything that came before was just setting the stage. Her pride, which I had built up so high, was now shattered against the ground. Only then would she completely drop that goddess facade and begin to reevaluate me and our relationship from a position of equality. This is what they call breaking before building. Sure enough, the forum exploded the next day. Someone secretly took photos of last night's party and posted them online. Bombshell. Lin Zhou's mysterious party. Su Qianxue allegedly humiliated in public. Leaves in tears. The photos were blurry, but it was clear to see that I was surrounded by all kinds of beautiful women, while Su Qianxue stood alone at the door. The comments section instantly split into three factions. One faction consists of Su Qianxue's diehard sycophants, led by Wang Hao, who viciously attacked me. Lin Zhou, you scumbag. Who do you think you are? Making our goddess cry. What gives you the right? Exactly. So what if you have some dirty money? Qianxue, don't cry. We'll always support you. The other faction is the newly emerged bystanders, who show great interest in my antic-like behavior. Holy crap, this guy's got guts. He's the first one to dare embarrass the school beauty in public, right? I don't know, but I kind of feel good about it. I've been sick of those mindless simps for a while now. Lin Zhou is a legend. A real man should have that attitude. Can't keep spoiling these princesses. The third group, though small in number, was the most intriguing. They were some of the girls at the school. To be honest, I'm a bit envious of Su Qianxue. Even though she was angered to tears, at least it proves that Lin Zhou truly treats her as an equal opponent, not a goddess to be worshipped. Agree with the above. Compared to those greasy guys who only say, drink more hot water. Lin Zhou, who is both aloof and mysterious, is way more attractive, right? See that? The tide has already turned. Even the girls are starting to get tired of being worshipped. What they crave is conquest, a battle between equals. System, do you hear that? That's the voice of the market. Ding. The system cannot comprehend the current trend of public opinion, requesting updates to the definitions of keywords such as PUA, player, and battle between equals. Over the next week, Su Qianxue completely disappeared. She didn't come to class, and she didn't send any more messages on WeChat. I guess she is going through an inner battle within herself. As for me, I enjoy the peace and quiet. I spent the last bit of money from the system funds. I didn't buy a car or a watch. I used that money to register a small investment company. The legal representative is myself. Then, using this company, I acquired a cafe near our school that was on the verge of bankruptcy. I renovated it and turned it into an open, shared space that combines a coffee shop, a book bar, and a study room. I named it the Ferryman. I didn't expect it to make money. I just wanted to provide a place for myself and for college students who, like I once was, feel lost and anxious, a place where they can catch their breath. When a person has money, they no longer think only about how to spend it. Instead, they think about how to make that money more meaningful. On the day the cafe opened, it was very simple. I didn't do any promotion. I sat alone by the window, drinking coffee, watching the young faces passing by outside. Just then, the wind chime at the cafe rang. I looked up. Standing at the door was Su Qianxue. A week had passed, and she looked a bit thinner, but her eyes no longer held the coldness or confusion from before. Instead, there was a calmness, tinged with determination. She walked straight to the seat across from me and sat down. Lin Zhou. She looked at me and got straight to the point. Do you think I'm ridiculous? I didn't say anything, just poured her a glass of water. surrounded by a crowd of admirers. I actually started believing I was some kind of goddess. She let out a self-deprecating laugh. Every day, I accepted others' kindness without a second thought. And when I rejected them, I didn't even offer a sincere apology. In reality, I'm nothing. Without all those halos, I'm just a spoiled ordinary girl. I was a bit surprised. I didn't expect her to be able to analyze herself so thoroughly. It seems that strong dose I gave her was the right call. So, I asked. So, she took a deep breath, lifted her head, and looked at me with burning intensity, speaking each word deliberately. I want to get to know you again, not as Su Qianxue, the school beauty, but as an ordinary girl. Su Qianxue. She paused, and to my surprise, a hint of nervous blush appeared on her face. Can I pursue you? Beep, beep, beep. Warning, warning, warning. Su Qianxue's words hit me like a nuclear bomb, directly crippling the system in my mind. Detected a 1180-degree reversal in the target's behavioral logic. The one being pursued is attempting to transform into a simp. The system's core code has suffered a devastating impact. Emergency defense mechanism activated. Defense failed. Ah. With a piercing scream, the system's voice vanished. The world is at peace. I looked at the girl before me, her face full of nervousness and anticipation. And for the first time, I felt truly stumped. To be honest, the fact that she could say these words completely exceeded my expectations. My original script was that she would be unwilling to accept it, would test me in various ways, and then the two of us would slowly find a balance in this tug-of-war. But she just flipped the table. She stopped playing. She chose to face me in the most direct and honest way. And with that, she threw the problem back at me, chasing me. I raised an eyebrow and leaned back in my chair. Classmate Su, did you get something wrong? I never said I liked you. My words were cruel. Her face turned even paler. But this time, her gaze didn't waver. I know, she said. You don't have to like me. That's my business. I just wanted to give myself a chance. And also give you a chance to get to know me again. I used to always think that others' efforts were just taken for granted. Her voice was a little low, but you made me realize that no one is born to be good to anyone else. All kindness should be cherished and reciprocated. You showed me what a better person should look like. You're confident, disciplined, and have goals. You live brilliantly. I want to become that kind of person too. She looked at me, and in her eyes, there were none of the impurities from before. Only the purest longing remained, and a hint of humble hope. Damn it, I have to admit, I was a little tempted. As an observer of traffic trends, my specialty is deconstructing patterns and predicting directions. But I forgot that the human heart is the most unpredictable thing of all. When I had exhausted all my calculations and tactics, she gave me the most simple sincerity. That is the highest level of dimensional reduction strike. I fell silent. In the cafe, only soothing music flowed. After a long while, I finally spoke. A reason. Give me any reason for you to pursue me. Because she thought for a moment and said very seriously, because you are the first person who dared to pull me down from my pedestal. I want to see what the view is like from down there. That reason was quite unique. I smiled. All right, I said. She froze, a flash of surprise lighting up her eyes. You agreed. I agree. I'll give you a chance. I raised a finger and wagged it in front of her. But I have my rules. If you want to pursue me, fine. But first, you have to pass my test. Test. Yes. I picked up my coffee, took a sip, and said slowly, first, from today on, forget about your school beauty status. To me, you're just Su Qianxue. She nodded firmly. Second, I continued. I don't like being disturbed. So, without my permission, you're not allowed to send me WeChat messages or come find me. Her expression froze for a moment. What kind of pursuit was this? Not even allowed to talk. Then, what should I do? She asked. Simple. I pointed around. See this cafe? Starting today, you'll work here. When you can earn enough with your own hands to treat me to a lay the best in the world. Made by you, then our test will move to the second stage. With that, I stood up and prepared to leave. Lin Zhou. She called out to me. I turned around. Your test is very difficult. She said. Of course. I smiled. After all, I'm not easy to catch. With that, ignoring her expression that was both annoyed and amused, I walked straight out of the cafe. I walked quite a distance before I realized that my heartbeat was a little fast. I leaned against the wall and let out a long sigh. All right, I admit it. Things seem to be starting to get a little interesting. Su Qianxue actually came to work at the cafe. The position I arranged for her was a waitress. Like all the regular staff, she wore a uniform and was responsible for taking orders, serving meals, and clearing tables every day. On the first day, she was clumsy, either knocking over cups or getting customers' orders wrong. Several times, impatient customers scolded her, and her eyes turned red. I sat in the corner, watching coldly, without helping her. This is her trial. I cannot interfere. At school, this incident once again became explosive news. School beauty Su Qianxue is actually serving trays at Lin Zhou's cafe. The simps were heartbroken, feeling that their goddess had been manipulated by me. This scumbag. The onlookers were as excited as if it were New Year's. They felt this was damn more thrilling than any idol drama. But Su Qianxue turned a deaf ear to everything outside. She seemed to have truly regarded herself as an ordinary waitress. She arrived at the shop on time every day, diligently learning how to take orders, how to communicate with customers, and how to brew different flavors of coffee. Her hands had become somewhat rough from frequent contact with hot water and cleaning agents. Her beautiful dress had also been replaced with simple jeans and a t-shirt. The halo around her was slowly fading away. But for some reason, I actually felt that the current her was much more pleasing to the eye than the former untouchable school beauty. That afternoon, the shop was very quiet. She was alone behind the counter, clumsily practicing latte art. One cup of milk after another was wasted by her. The patterns she pulled were either a blurry mess or oddly shaped. She felt a bit discouraged, puffing out her cheeks as she stared blankly at the failed creation. That look was kind of cute. I put down the book in my hand and walked over. Keep your wrists steady, I said. She was startled, and when she saw it was me, her face flushed, embarrassed. She hid the failed cup behind her back. I was just practicing casually. Ignoring her, I picked up a new pitcher, filled it halfway with milk, and began frothing. Then, I picked up the coffee cup and slowly poured the dense milk foam into the espresso. With a gentle flick of my wrist, a beautiful tulip slowly bloomed on the surface of the coffee. She stared wide, completely mesmerized. You? How could you? I learned it before. I pushed the cup of coffee toward her. Want to try it? She carefully picked up the cup and took a gentle sip. How is it? I asked. It tastes good, she said. Then keep practicing. I put the tools aside and turned to leave. Lin Zhou. She called out to me again. Thank you, she said. This time, her thank you was completely different from the one at the gym before. There was no politeness, no distance, only the simplest gratitude. I was stunned for a moment, nodded, and said nothing more. Back in my seat, I found myself unable to focus on reading. I watched that figure behind the counter, who had reignited her fighting spirit and continued practicing diligently because of my cup of coffee. In my heart, something seemed to be quietly sprouting. The days that followed were very calm. I continued living my life of leveling up and taking on challenges, while she, in my cafe, slowly transformed from a clumsy newcomer into a skilled barista. She doesn't talk much, but the regulars at the shop all like her, because she is always very quiet and very earnest. It seems she has truly found another kind of value that belongs to her. As for me, after spending the 1 million given by the system, my own investment company started turning a profit. Thanks to the several projects I had accurately invested in earlier, money is making money. I think I might actually be on the verge of achieving financial freedom. But strangely enough, I'm not as excited as I imagined I would be. Instead, I find myself savoring those afternoons even more sitting in the corner of the cafe, watching that girl in the apron, carefully crafting latte art for customers in the sunlight. Until one day, while I was reviewing financial statements, a figure in a cafe uniform stood before me. It was Su Qianxue. She was holding a tray, and on the tray was a cup of latte. On the surface of the coffee was a perfectly crafted, intricate heart-shaped latte art. Lin Zhou. She looked at me, her face bearing an unprecedented, confident and radiant smile. This is the best latte I've ever made in the world. No, I want to treat you to one with the salary I earned this month. She gently placed the coffee in front of me. Your test. The first stage. She took a deep breath, as if gathering all her courage, looked into my eyes, and said seriously, "Did I pass?" I looked at the latte before me, and the nearly perfect latte art. He looked again at Su Qianxue's eyes, bright like stars. I knew she was telling the truth. This cup of coffee was earned with a month's worth of sweat and countless failures. Within it lay her effort, her perseverance, her feelings. Ding. System reboot successful. Ultimate Simp system has been upgraded to True Love Conquers All System version 1.0. A long-lost voice suddenly rang out in my mind. I was stunned for a moment. What the hell? True Love Conquers All system. Detected that the host and the target have entered the mutual effort stage. The system's underlying logic has been restructured. Congratulations, host. New feature. Heartbeat moment unlocked. Whenever the target person spends money on the host or develops strong feelings of love for the host, the system will issue heartbeat points. Heartbeat points can be used to exchange for higher level items and skills in the mall. I listened with a face full of confusion. This system really is keeping up with the times. It went from one extreme simp mode straight to another extreme love brain mode, changing the soup but not the medicine. Host, quick, drink this coffee. It was made for you by the goddess herself. Drink it, and your love will be elevated. The system began shouting frantically in my mind again. I ignored it. I simply picked up the cup of coffee and gently took a sniff. Very fragrant. Then, I pushed it back in front of Su Qianxue. The smile on her face froze. Why? There was a barely noticeable tremor in her voice. Coffee. The latte art is good, but now is not the time to drink it. I looked at her and said calmly, then, when is the time? As I said, this is just the first stage of the test. I leaned back in my chair, watching her look of utter defeat, and suddenly found it a bit amusing. Classmate Sue, you didn't think that making a good cup of coffee would be enough to win me over, did you? That would make my standards far too low. Her face instantly flushed red, with anger. Lin Zhou, you tricked me again. I didn't trick you. I spread my hands. I just wanted to tell you that investing in yourself is a long-term, ongoing process. You've only just begun. You? She was so angry she couldn't speak. How about this? I thought for a moment and said, the second phase of the test. Starting tomorrow. You don't have to come to the shop anymore. What? She was stunned. You? You're firing me. No. I shook my head. I'm giving you a long vacation. I took a card out of my wallet and placed it on the table. There's 100,000 yuan in this card, I said. Su Qianxue stared at the card, her eyes filled with caution. What do you mean by this? This is your trial fund for the next stage. I looked at her and said word by word. I want you to use this money to do anything you've always wanted to do, but never did for various reasons. Learn a dance. Get a diving license. Go to a city you've always wanted to visit. Travel alone. In short, do everything that can make you richer and more interesting. I want you to live for yourself for once. Not for the title of school beauty. Not for the sake of others' opinions. And not to chase after me. When you find the Su Qianxue who truly shines for herself, come find me. I finished speaking and stood up. I'll keep this cup of coffee on record. When I see a brand new, I'll come back in person to collect it. With that, I didn't look at her again and walked straight out of the cafe. This time, I did not look back, because I knew that some seeds had already been planted. No, all I need to do is quietly wait for them to take root, sprout, and then grow into the towering tree I hope to see. And as for me, it's time to attend to my own matters. My investment company has recently taken an interest in a new project, a startup team focused on artificial intelligence emotional interaction. I believe this field will be the next big trend. I thought Su Qianxue would need a long time to complete her second stage test. Unexpectedly, she only took 2 months. In these 2 months, I deliberately refrained from seeking any news about her. I poured all my energy into my company. I successfully secured the lead investment for that AI emotional interaction project. The team is young and full of ideas. Together with them, I worked day and night to optimize algorithms and fine-tune models. I've come to realize more and more that I'm utterly fascinated by the process of creating something new from scratch from 0 to 1. Money, for me, has truly become nothing more than a string of numbers. The sense of accomplishment that comes from turning an idea into reality with your own hands is the most addictive thing of all. Over the past 2 months, the true love invincible system in my mind is quieted down a lot. It seems to have realized that its love above all logic is equally useless on me. Only occasionally, when I see Su Qianxue's Moments update, mechanically announces a line. Ding. Detected target character's self-worth increase. Current charm value, 75 points. Initial value was 60. I opened her Moments. It was a Su Qianxue I was completely unfamiliar with. She no longer posted those peaceful, self-indulgent selfies. She posted a photo of herself diving, posing with a sea turtle, her skin tanned to a healthy wheat color. She posted a photo of herself in the dance studio, drenched in sweat, making a peace sign at the mirror. She posted a picture of herself alone, carrying a backpack, under the blue sky of Tibet, with a radiant smile on her face. She even posted a photo of herself winning first place in a small business competition, holding the award certificate. She truly is, with that 100,000, frantically investing in herself. She has become richer, more three-dimensional, and increasingly charming. No longer that hollow school beauty with just a pretty face, but a flesh and blood, soulful, sparkling Su Qianxue. I have to admit, every time I scroll through her Moments, my heart unconsciously skips half a beat. Until that day, I was in the office, having a video conference with my team, when my assistant knocked and came in. Lin, she said, holding back a laugh. There's a Miss Su downstairs looking for you. She says, she's here to report on her results to you. I was taken aback for a moment. Then I smiled. What is meant to come will always come. I ended the video conference and went downstairs. In the reception area downstairs, Su Qianxue was sitting there. Today, she was wearing a sharp beige suit skirt, her long hair tied up, with delicate, light makeup. There was no trace left of the once naive college girl she used to be. In its place was a settled, confident, and composed demeanor. When she saw me, she stood up, extended her hand, and wore the kind of professional, polished smile typically seen in business negotiations. Mr. Lin, long time no see. I took her hand. It was warm and firm. Miss Su. I raised an eyebrow. Looks like you had a good vacation. Thanks to you. She let go of my hand, took a document from her bag, and handed it to me. This is my progress report. Please take a look. I took the document and opened it. Inside, it wasn't travel photos or award certificates. Instead, it was an extremely professional and detailed business plan. The title read, Feasibility Report on the Brand Upgrade and Chain Operation of the Ferryman Cafe. I was shocked. I flipped through quickly. Market analysis, competitor research, profit models, marketing strategies. Every single item was well-founded and logically clear. In fact, it was even better than what the professional project managers in my company could produce. You? I looked up at her, hardly able to believe my eyes. Over these 2 months, besides traveling and studying, she said, looking at me with a brightness in her eyes that I had never seen before. I spent all my remaining time on this. I studied every successful chain coffee brand, both domestic and international. I interviewed 100 customers of the Ferryman. I analyzed all the strengths and weaknesses of your shop. Lin Zhou. She looked at me with utmost seriousness and said, You gave me 100,000 yuan to go find myself. No, I found it. I've realized that what I truly love isn't dancing or diving. It's the process of turning an idea, concept, into reality through meticulous calculation and planning. I love business. I love challenges. So, she took a deep breath, and a sly, fox-like smile spread across her face. No, in my personal capacity as Su Qianxue, I'd like to formally propose a partnership to your company. I want to invest in your cafe. I want to turn it into a nationally franchised, successful commercial brand. Lin Zhou. No, President Lin. She gave me a slight bow. The second phase of my test. Have I passed now? I looked at Su Qianxue before me, and the business plan in her hand, one that could move any investor. For the first time, I truly understood what it meant to say, the student surpasses the master. I had intended to nurture her into a sturdy, thriving tree, but instead, she had turned herself into a vibrant, flourishing forest. Ding. Detected the awakening of the target's commercial value. Current charm score, 85. Ding. The target has initiated a reverse investment toward the host, triggering hidden storyline equal match. System reward. Host's personal charm score permanently increased by 20. Acquired title loves market player. Listening to the system's sycophantic prompts in my mind, I suddenly felt it all meaningless. Do I still need these flashy, insubstantial rewards from you? The one right in front of meth living, breathing, sparkling girl I personally shaped with my own hand, sis, the best reward I could ever ask for. I finished reading your proposal. I closed the file and looked at her. There are many highlights, but also a few fatal flaws. Su Qianxue's expression instantly tensed up. What flaws? First, your expansion plan is too aggressive. The brand's foundation is not yet stable, and blind expansion will only lead to a broken capital chain. Second, your management of the supply chain is too simplistic. The quality of coffee beans is the lifeline of a chain brand. You cannot rely solely on a single supplier. Third, I pointed out the flaws in her proposal one by one. With each point I made, her face grew paler. By the time I finished speaking, the confidence she had just built up had been shattered by me, leaving little to none. So, she asked, somewhat dejectedly, my proposal still fails. No. I shook my head. I walked over to her, picked up the plan, and circled a few spots on it with a pen. These issues. If you can't provide me with a perfect solution within a week. I looked at her, a familiar, devilish smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Then I'll agree to your investment. And I paused. I'll personally add another $5 million in investment. You'll be the CEO of this new company. Su Qianxue was completely stunned. Happiness came too suddenly. She looked at me, and in an instant, a layer of mist formed in her eyes. Why? She choked out. You could have done it yourself. So why? Why give me such a great opportunity? Because I reached out and gently wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. My movements softer than I ever expected. Because I no longer need to prove myself to anyone. I said, looking at her earnestly. But you do. Su Qianxue. You need a stage that truly lets you shine. And I am willing to be the one who builds that stage for you. Of course. I shifted my tone, slipping back into that carefree demeanor. But only if your solution satisfies me. After all, I am a very picky investor. She looked at me, her tears turning into a smile. Lin Zhou, you really are a jerk. Thank you for the compliment. That week, Su Qianxue practically made the office her home. She took the questions I gave her and refined her business plan. I assigned her the top project team in my company to support her. From the initial awkwardness to becoming increasingly assertive. More and more, taking on the demeanor of a female CEO. She held meetings with my team, argued, even slammed the table. She stayed up late into the night, eyes reddened, just to understand a financial model, to find the best coffee bean supplier. She flew to Yunnan herself. She really is giving it her all for what she loves. A week later, she placed a brand new proposal, twice as thick as before, in front of me. I only read one page before closing it. Congratulations, President Su. I stood up and extended my hand to her. Looking forward to working with you. She was stunned for a full 3 seconds before she snapped out of it. An overwhelming joy washed over her. She didn't shake my hand as I had imagined. Instead, she rushed over, leaped onto me, and clung tightly to my neck like a koala. We did it. Lin Zhou, we did it. Her voice carried a sobbing tone and an uncontrollable excitement. I held her, feeling her warm body and her heart pounding violently with excitement, and I smiled. Yes, we made it. At that moment, the system in my mind was frantically flooding the screen with messages. Ding. Heartbeat value 1000. Ding. Heartbeat value 1000. Congratulations, host. You have unlocked the ultimate skill eyes of true love. It can see through all hypocrisy and reach straight into the heart. I looked at the girl in my arms, who was crying uncontrollably yet smiling so brilliantly. I think, perhaps, I really don't need any eyes of true love anymore. Because this heart right before my eyes is already sincere enough and burning hot enough. The Ferryman brand upgrade plan has officially launched. Su Qianxue became the CEO of this new company. As for me, I stepped back behind the scenes, becoming that mysterious controlling shareholder who only appears at board meetings. I handed the stage over to her completely. As it turned out, my judgment was not wrong. Su Qianxue was born for this line of work. She possesses a uniquely feminine delicacy, with an almost obsessive pursuit of brand image and user experience. She also has a decisiveness and tenacity that rivals any man. at the negotiation table with suppliers. She can haggle for 3 days and nights over a single percentage point of discount. When faced with disagreements within the team, she could calmly analyze the pros and cons and then make the most ruthless yet correct decision. She grew much faster than I had imagined. In less than half a year, the first flagship store of the Ferryman officially opened in the busiest commercial district in the city center. On opening day, it was exceptionally bustling. Fashion bloggers, foodies, and influencers of all kinds packed the small cafe. Su Qianxue, dressed in a well-tailored professional suit, moved through the crowd with poise, elegance, and a radiant glow. She had truly become the queen who shines for herself. I didn't go to the scene. I simply sit in my office, quietly watching it all through the surveillance cameras, watching that masterpiece, which I personally shaped, radiate its most dazzling brilliance. This feeling is truly remarkable. It brings me a greater sense of achievement than earning any amount of money myself. Ding. Detected target social value has reached its peak. Charm score, 95 points. Congratulations, host. You have successfully transformed a receiver of flattery into a value co-creator. Ultimate achievement unlocked. Goddess Minner. The system is about to enter the final settlement phase. Please prepare. Host. Countdown. 10, 9. Final settlement. I was stunned for a moment. Does this mean that this absurd game, which has lasted for nearly a year, is finally coming to an end? 3, 2, 1. Ding. Congratulations, host. Lin Zhou. You have successfully spent the system's initial funds of 1 million yuan. The financial freedom privilege is now officially unlocked for you. From now on, any purchase you make at any bank worldwide will be reimbursed in real time by this system. No limits, no collateral, no questions asked. Congratulations, host, for becoming the 1024th person in this universe to achieve financial freedom. My phone vibrated slightly. Bank text message popped up. Dear Mr. Lin Zhou, your savings account ending in 8888 has received an unlimited credit line from the Universal United Bank on September 6th. Your current available credit is... I stared at that mathematical symbol of infinity in silence. I, truly, had achieved financial freedom. I could buy anything in the world that I wanted. Private jets, luxury yachts, a small island in the Pacific. All of this has become within reach. But strangely, there is not a single ripple in my heart. In fact, it feels a little empty. I turned off my phone and watched the surveillance footage, where Su Qianxue was still arguing with an employee over a small detail in the store. I suddenly realized that the things money can't buy, like her earnest, adorable expression at this moment, that is what I truly wanted. I picked up my phone and dialed her number. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. It was very noisy on the other end. Hello, Lin Zhou. Her voice carried a hint of exhaustion, but also barely concealed excitement. Did you see the scene? We made it. I saw it. I said, President Su. That was impressive. Of course. She let out a proud hum. Don't you know who made it happen? To celebrate your success, I said, are you free tonight? I'd like to take you out for dinner. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Mr. Lin, she suddenly said, in a businesslike tone, I'm sorry, but I already have plans tonight. I held the phone. Stunned. Plans. This is an answer I never expected at all. With whom? I asked instinctively, and regretted it the moment the words left my mouth. My posture was exactly like a boyfriend checking up on his partner. This is my personal itinerary, and I'm not obligated to report it to President Lin. On the other end of the phone, Su Qianxue's voice carried a hint of sly amusement. She was turning the tables on me. Beep, beep, beep. She simply hung up the phone. listening to the busy tone on my phone. For the first time, I tasted what it meant to feel defeated. I personally tamed a gentle little cat into a little wildcat that bites. No, she's starting to scratch me back. Sitting in the office, the more I think about it, the more unsettled I feel. Financial freedom, in this moment, becomes utterly meaningless. There is only one thought in my mind. Who exactly did she go on a date with? Was it some business partner I didn't know about? Or a new suitor who had appeared? Once this thought emerged, it grew wildly in my heart like weeds. Restlessly, I paced back and forth in the office a few times. In the end, I couldn't hold back. I grabbed my car keys and rushed out. I didn't even know where I was going. I just drove, aimlessly wandering through the city. Finally, as if possessed, I drove the car to the vicinity of our school. That cafe, the Ferryman, which I had personally renovated and has now become a popular check-in spot. I parked the car at the street corner, but didn't get out. I just sat there, staring at the shop, looking at those young, vibrant faces coming and going. Just then, I caught sight of a familiar figure walking out of the cafe. It was Su Qianxue. She had changed out of her professional suit and was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans, face bare of makeup, hair cascading over the shoulders. She had transformed back into the image of that college girl I first met. Yet, something was different. Her face bore a genuine, heartfelt ease and joy. In her hand, she was still holding a latte. My heart stirred. Could it be? I saw her glance around, then walk straight toward the direction where my car was parked. How did she know I was here? She walked up to my car window, curled her fingers, and gently tapped on the glass. I rolled down the window. She leaned down and handed the latte through the window. On the surface of the coffee, there was a perfect heart-shaped latte art, exactly the same as the one from a few months ago. Big boss. She looked at me. Her eyes curved into a smile like a cat that had stolen the cream. Is it time to drink this coffee now? I looked at her, then at the coffee in my hand, completely dumbfounded. You? Didn't you say you had an appointment? Yes. She nodded and said matter-of-factly, my date is you. Then you. I'm betting. She said, I'm betting that when I say I have plans, you'll come running to me like a fool, betting on whether you'd get jealous for me. She looked at me, those beautiful eyes shimmering with the light of victory. It seems. She reached out and gently pinched my stiff cheek. I've won the bet. Lin Zhou, a man who fancies himself a traffic observer and a love strategist, at this very moment, was outsmarted, thoroughly and completely, by a girl I had personally cultivated. I looked at her smug, triumphant little expression. Suddenly, I smiled. I laughed, with an unprecedented joy. I opened the car door and got out. Under her astonished gaze, I pulled her into my arms, tightly, holding her close. Su Qianxue. I buried my head in the crook of her neck, catching the faint scent of shampoo in her hair. You really are a genius. She giggled softly in my arms. Of course I am. Ding. Detected that the host and the target have entered a state of soul resonance. The ultimate mission begins. Investment of love. Mission requirements. Please make the target person, Su Qianxue, willingly spend 1 million RMB for you. Mission success. The system will perfectly merge with the host, granting the host the ultimate ability to master the rules of emotion. Mission failure. The system will. In his mind, the system's voice rang out once again. But this time, I didn't let it finish. I simply said to it in my heart, you, shut up. Then, I let go of Su Qianxue, cupped her face. At the street corner, under the dim yellow streetlight, deeply, they kissed. To hell with the ultimate mission. I'm done playing. That kiss was long and deep. It carried the relief of having found something once lost, and the possessiveness of never wanting to let go again. It wasn't until Su Qianxue was almost out of breath and gently pushed me that I reluctantly let her go. She leaned against me, her cheeks flushed, her eyes shimmering like a pool of spring water. Lin Zhou, she whispered against my chest. Do you know that just now? You look like a wolf that's been hungry for a long time. Really? I looked down at her. So, President Su, are you planning to feed me now? Or keep me hanging? Depends on how you behave. She tilted her head up, a sly glint in her eyes as she blinked. Seeing her playful, mischievous look, my heart melted into a complete mess. I took her hand. Come on, I'll take you somewhere. I brought her to my cafe, the Ferryman, at 10 o'clock in the evening. The shop had already closed. I turned on the light. The entire space was quiet and warm. And there still lingered a faint scent of coffee and books. Why did you bring me here? She asked. I didn't answer. I pulled her over to the bar counter and made her sit down. Then I walked inside, took out the best set of coffee equipment from the cabinet, grinding the beans, tamping the grounds, extracting the espresso, frothing the milk. My movements were fluid and effortless. Su Qianxue rested her chin on her hand, quietly watching me. Her gaze was focused and gentle. Soon, a perfect cup of latte was made, using a latte art needle. I didn't draw a heart or a tulip on the surface of the coffee. I drew a small, simple sketch of a boat. Then, I pushed it in front of her. Miss Su Qianxue. I looked at her, imitating her daytime demeanor with utmost seriousness, and said, This cup of coffee is called Lin Zhou. No, I want to give it to you. I don't want your investment, nor your partnership. I only want you, Su Qianxue, to be my Lin Zhou's girlfriend. Are you willing? Su Qianxue looked at the cup of coffee, at the little boat that was drawn a bit adorably ugly. She did not answer immediately. Her eyes, little by little, reddened. Then she looked up at me and smiled, a smile more beautiful than any I had ever seen. Lin Zhou, she said, you really are an incurable romantic. So, what's the answer? I pressed. The answer? She picked up the cup of coffee and took a gentle sip. Then she stood up, stepped out from behind the counter, and walked over to me. She stood on her tiptoes. On my lips, a kiss was imprinted, carrying the aroma of coffee. Is the answer? Not good, she said. I smiled. I lifted her up in one swift motion and sat her on the high bar counter in that small cafe that belonged only to the two of us. Igor had the deepest, longest response. Much later, Su Qianxue became my wife. The Ferryman coffee also became a well-known brand spread across the country. One day, she leaned against me and asked, Lin Zhou, to be honest, back then, what exactly were you thinking? Why did you use such a strange way to invest in me? I thought for a moment, and then I told her that absurd story about the Simp system. She was stunned for a long time after hearing this. Then she burst into laughter, rolling around on the sofa. So, she said, wiping away tears of laughter, I, Su Qianxue, am actually the mission target of a Simp system. Yes, I nodded. Then, that final, ultimate task, did you complete it? Did I? For you? Spend $1 million? She asked curiously. I shook my head. No, I said, because the moment I kissed you, that system disappeared. Why? Probably because I looked at her, recalling the words the system had prompted that night. It realized that the new generation of young people no longer buys into its outdated script of emotional blackmail. The next big trend is not about being a simp, nor about being anti-simp, and not even about true love conquering all. I held her tightly in my arms and whispered softly in her ear. The next big trend will always be do it ourselves, become the rule itself.